Welcome to Media Makers Spotlight from Women in Film and Video in Washington, D.C. We bring you conversations with industry professionals for behind the screens, insight, and inspiration.
Welcome to Media Maker Spotlight. I'm your host, Tara Jabari, and I have with me Vincent Martella. Vincent has been acting on screen and as a voice actor consistently since he was a child, from shows like Everybody Hates Chris and films like Role Models. Arguably, his most recognizable role is being the voice of Phineas Flynn from Phineas and Ferb, an animated show that aired from 2007 to 2015 and has had 2 films released and is coming back as a TV show for Disney and Disney Plus in 2025. Welcome, Vincent. Thank you for coming on.
Hi. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. I'm very excited to be here.
So, okay, I know what this show is. I'm a little older than you, just by a few. But when I looked at the poster, I'm like, oh, I know this one, because I also am a spy nerd. So I liked the theme of it.
Yeah, we have a spy platypus on our show, so what's not to love there?
Yes, exactly. And also that you guys had so many different things that it kept coming back. Like one of the films came back after the show had finished its run originally, but now it's coming back like 10 years after the conclusion of the show. So how does it feel after so long that the show's coming back?
Yeah, it's fantastic. I'm so excited to be able to keep bringing new episodes of this show to our audience and to new audiences, which is really cool as well, because people who grew up watching the show and, experienced the whole first run now have children of their own, and they're going to probably share it with their kids, because I know that people have already shared it with the next generation just on Disney Plus for old episodes that we've done. So getting to play a character on a TV show that has resonated so well with such a broad audience, I feel like it's such a rare opportunity. And so it's something that I feel really lucky to be a part of. And I'm very, very excited for everyone to see the new stuff we've done with these characters that people already really love. Because I think we really utilized these new seasons and these new episodes to tell stories that are different than the stories that we were able to tell during the first run of the show, but also keeping the same humor, keeping the same excitement with the adventures and the inventions that the boys build, let alone the music on the show, which is such a big part of the show. So it's going to be very, very fun. I really can't wait.
Yeah, and it's already been picked up for even past this one-time season. It sounds like it's coming back for more and more. And what does the relationship between its fans, those who grew up with it, and those who are finding it? I can kind of relate to it from other shows like Gilmore Girls that came back and stuff. Was there always I'm not too familiar with the history of it. Was it always a demand for it to come back, or was this just coincidence of how it came? How did it come about to come back?
There was definitely a large demand for our show, and that's why we were able to come back and do more seasons. And I mean, basically everyone on, who runs the show and who is acting on the show would love to keep doing this forever. I mean, we would love to be the Disney Plus version of an evergreen animated show, which there are so many on other networks that have kind of just been on and are able to be accessible for audiences at all times. We've kind of always been in the top, 10-ish of things streamed on Disney Plus in terms of content that they have. And so I think that allowed us to have the ability to come back and make more episodes, because of the way that content is consumed now. And the first time we ended, it wasn't an issue of people not enjoying the show or us not having viewership. It was in terms of our creators wanting to start work on new shows that they were already working on, and not being able to keep all the writers and all the people who give the show the life that it has. And so if we weren't going to do it with everybody who was involved, it didn't really make sense to keep doing it without these people who are so crucial to the show. So I think because you have things like Disney Plus now, and you have people who are consistently watching it all the time, it allowed, I think, Disney to go, hey, you know what? These are characters who people really care about, and we will give them more of their stories. So I hope we get to do this forever. I really do.
Yeah, hopefully. And obviously there's a demand for the animated content, whether it's for adults or kids. We have things like The Simpsons and Family Guy, and then of course there's, well, I was going to say Sesame Street. That's not really animated, but
Yeah.
children's programming will always be in demand. But were you, before we knew how successful that the show was going to be, you started, when the show first started, was you were 13 years old. Were you nervous as a child actor? Like, your voice changes as a kid growing
Yeah, it
up,
does.
right? And then were you a little nervous about, how is this going to affect my career for this show or for any other work? Will it be consistent?
Absolutely.
And how did you guys, you and your family, your agents, kind of cope with that? And how did that work out for you? Obviously, well.
Well, for me, that's a reason why a lot of young voice actors don't get opportunities like I was able to get. And a couple of things benefited me. One being that I'm not using my regular voice. I'm using a character voice I created to play Phineas. So that benefits me greatly because it's a voice that I was not just using my 13-year-old voice when I auditioned for the role and when I did the pilot, but I did a lot of things in terms of making sure I was able to consistently do this voice and consistently perform the way that I need to as Phineas, because you're asked to do a lot of things on this show, whether it be, yelling and screaming because you have some invention you've built that's in the sky, or singing a lot of music. And those things are very taxing on your voice as well. And you want to make sure that you have the vocal capability to do that with a voice that you've created. And so, I did countless vocal lessons with voice acting classes that I would take. And I still take those to this day where, I'll go to voice acting workshops to try and get better. There's always things I can improve on. But I was going to opera singing teachers to learn better vocal exercises to preserve my voice and to extend my range and to do things like that all throughout my teenage years when I first started working on the show and into my 20s. So I was doing as much homework as I could vocally so that I would be able to do this role that's very demanding and keep this role a huge part of my life. And luckily that worked, and that hard work helped me sustain the career that I have right now. But yeah, it was a lot of nights after school going to I grew up in Florida, and there's a really good music school in the town that I grew up in called Stetson University. And so they had an opera department there, and I hired an opera professor, and did lessons. And it's things that I wouldn't use practically for music. Like, I'm never going to sing opera, but it's just the techniques used to strengthen your voice and to extend your range were incredibly useful for me and incredibly practical for me to use every week when I was going to record. And I still use some of those techniques today. So that's how I navigated that.
Yeah, because I was watching a couple clips, and one of them, it was something like where Phineas and Ferb were giving two of the girls a spa thing, and then it goes into a nice little music thing, and they're singing, and then it goes into a rap battle kind of thing,
Yeah.
and I was like, is that still his voice? Because so it's you guys still.
Anytime it's Phineas singing, it is always my voice.
Okay.
Yeah, but sometimes they do music that goes on while Phineas and Ferb are doing things.
No, you guys are actually doing a lyric.
But when it's me singing, it's always me singing, which has been wonderful. That's been really, really fun. I've got to sing really, really cool music of, quite frankly, almost every genre I can think of on this show, because our writers are so good and so talented, and so is our music department. And we have some songs that people really love, and they get really popular on TikTok to this day, where we had people doing one of our songs is so popular on TikTok, they were doing it on the Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon, and Lizzo was doing it, and Reese Witherspoon and stuff. And it's just that's so surreal that
you guys are
this music that we had has had this much of an impact on our audience. It's really cool.
Well, I wanted to also touch base that you also have done on-screen work over the years too. And so a little bit about the pros, the cons, the similarities, and things like that. So can you kind of touch base on that experience?
Absolutely. The biggest differences between doing, I've had the great benefit of working on some really, really great live action projects, as well as some really good cartoons. And the biggest difference is, you pretty much never do group records for animation. They were much more popular in the 90s and the early 2000s, but I've only worked on maybe 2 projects where it's group records. And such an important part about acting, especially in live action, is, listening and responding to someone else's performance. Things that they are giving you impact how you respond. That's just human nature. And that's what makes it so exciting working with a scene partner. And we don't have that benefit with animation. We are by ourselves. And so that burden a lot of the times falls on our voice director to help us understand, what the other actors in this scene have done. And then we have to respond to it as though we're in the scene with them. And so I do find that that's something that certain actors struggle with if they haven't done much animation, is you really have to make it sound like you're in the middle of a conversation with someone when they're not there. And, a lot of times you'll do it line by line. And so each individual line has to sound like it all makes a scene. And so that's its own kind of technical thing that you start getting better and better at as it goes along. And so those are the biggest differences for me. I don't think I have a preference. Like, I just love working on fun stuff. And there's still so much for me to learn about getting better at both of those skills, like whether it's live action or animation. So I just love performing and getting to bring characters to life. And then a lot of times with animation, I'm doing a different voice. It's not myself. And so I'm a little bit more comfortable watching my animated stuff than I am live action, because I don't have to hear my own voice or see my own face. Like Phineas's voice is like his voice to me. Even when I'm doing it, I'm seeing him. So I'm able to separate myself in a nice way as a viewer and a performer.
Yeah, I was gonna ask if you've ever bumped into fans who have those kids that they're introducing it, and they're like, "Do you see who this is? It's Phineas," and then they're like, "What are you talking about?" Have you ever had those interactions?
Totally, and I think that kids don't always realize how cartoons are made. I mean, quite frankly, there's a lot of people who don't know all of the work that goes into making animation. I mean, it is a huge team of people. That's the magic of it, is kids don't know that it's not real, and they don't know that these characters don't exist, and that these characters are their friends. And it is a fun magic trick to be able to start doing Phineas's voice for a child who does not know how it works. And so they're very stunned, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, that's my friend I hang out with every day after school," and so it's really special. And I get to do that a lot, especially I'll go to Comic-Con sometimes and meet fans, and, parents will be like, "You are their favorite character." And it kind of takes them a minute. I'll have to talk to them in character, and then they'll figure it out. So it's definitely a fun magic trick to be able to pull for children who like the show.
Yeah. And I'm still surprised that even today, that a lot of the animation projects still film the actors separately.
Yeah.
Do you know why that is?
It's very expensive to do group records. I would say that is probably the number one reason. I know that's not a very exciting reason, but it's very hard to get a studio big enough to reserve enough microphones to get everyone in the same place on one day, and to spend that much time going through everyone's performances in one day. There are very few shows that still do it. I know Futurama was one of the shows that was doing it for a long time, but like I said, I've worked on maybe 2 projects that have done that.
I just feel bad for the editor.
It's so rare. Yeah, they're really talented. They're really good at what they do. Our voice directors are really good, and our directors are really good. So credit to all these people who put this thing together. I mean, and then let alone all the art that's taking place in between. We record, and then by the time it gets to air, it's 10, 11 months later of all these artists who have been working on the show, and we get to kind of make their work come to life. It's great.
It sounds weird to say, but the chemistry that shows even in an animation or in video games and all that, to think that everything has been separate, all of it, but everyone has done their part, and then it just seems so seamless. And you can tell, because when you meet them, the fan, usually in this case, a child, and they're completely clueless that you are one of those aspects, right? It's the biggest reward. It's like when a villain or an actor plays a villain, and then the fans hate them, and they're like, "That's the biggest compliment. Thank you."
Yeah, because they actually are like, "You make me so mad. I can't even look at you." Yeah, I've played some bad guys, but never anybody so bad that people just like actually like actively hate me. Maybe someday, maybe I'll get to play someone like that. Luckily, I play so many nice characters.
You'll just do it voice wise so that you can.
Yeah, so I can walk around without people giving me a dirty look. Like I know that happened with the actor who played like Joffrey on Game of Thrones and stuff. And it's like, well, that's unpleasant that people, can't let you have your tea or have your lunch.
Well, I saw that also. So you was like Everybody Hates Chris, the live action, if you will, TV show, one of the first projects that you worked on when you first started acting?
Yeah, it was not the first. I had worked on, like I'd done recurring roles and guest spots on comedies and on some dramas. I'd worked on a couple of like Fox sitcoms, a couple of Nickelodeon like recurring roles on things like that. But Everybody Hates Chris was definitely like, I was a regular on that show. So like that was like such a big deal for my career and to get, and so informative to work on a show with those really talented comedians for, 5 years of my life. That's a really long time to soak up so much information about the industry, about performing, about being funny, about being professional on a set, about like the stresses that come with being on a set that long, about just working with people in general. And then about 2 years into working on Everybody Hates Chris is when I started on Phineas and Ferb. And so then I was on Phineas and Ferb and Everybody Hates Chris at the same time for like 2.5 years. And I think Phineas and Ferb premiered though, because it takes so long to animate it. I think it premiered with like 1 year left on Everybody Hates Chris. Because I remember it premiering and one of my castmates being like, wait a second, isn't this the show that you worked on? Like my kids love that show. And I was like, yeah, this is what I've been working on that whole time. This is the show. And so that was really cool, being able to be on both of those things at once. They weren't like peaking at the same time. Like they have different overlaps in popularity, but still it was, when I look back on it, that is such a rare, I think, like special moment that I was able to work on two things that had really devoted audiences.
Well, now you're, and I'm not sure how much you can share, but it's sort of coming back in an animated version of.
Oh yeah, no, I can share a bunch about that. Yeah,
Everybody Hates Chris.
It's Everybody Still Hates Chris. It's on Comedy Central and on Paramount Plus. The whole first season has played on Comedy Central already, but it's going to be on Paramount Plus in May. But I don't play myself on that show. Okay. I play like 6 other characters because they were like, we're going to recast a lot of the main characters on the show. It's like, but you're a voice actor. Do you want to come in and do a bunch of other things? And I was like, yes, I do. I would love to. I would absolutely love to. So yeah, I play like, I think it's 6 voices on that show, and they're all super different and none of them sound like me, which was very fun. Is I was just like, you know what, I'm going to hide and do a bunch of really, really different voices that sound nothing like me. And that was a fun time. I mean, I did all my work on that show pretty quickly because I came in and got to do a bunch of random characters. I think I had like 4 sessions or something where I did like six characters. I don't know what the future of that show holds or what's going to happen with it, but I know that the first season is coming to Paramount Plus soon. But everyone who worked on it was super great and wonderful. I had fun getting to go and work with them.
So I was wondering if you were going back as your character, going back just the voice.
Yeah.
But even without that, it is interesting to see that you can go back in other ways, not just through streaming, but through animation and all sorts of ways. And I was wondering, was that also, because it, again, coincides with Phineas and Ferb, just like the first time where the two were at the same time you were working on it. So.
Yeah, I'm not sure, like I said, what the future of Everybody Still Hates Chris is going to be. But it was surreal. Yeah, kind of having a moment where I'm like, it's almost like I'm doing that again. But it was very different this time around because of the capacity of the work that I did on that one cartoon. And I mean, I work on Phineas and Ferb every week. Like that is a really great, steady job where I'm like, that takes up a lot of my life, which is awesome. So it's very opposite. It was very opposite this time because like before, when I was working on the live action show of Everybody Hates Chris, I mean, I was on set every day of the week. And, I was, after I would leave set, then I would go do Phineas and Ferb. And it was the opposite this time where it was like randomly they called me and they were like, hey, do you want to be part of this show? And I was like, absolutely. I mean, that show was a huge part of my life. I would love to work on it however you'll let me. And that was what they decided was they'd let me play a bunch of a bunch of random folks. And I think it turned out really well. I think the voices are hard to find, which is what I wanted. I think that they're all very, very unique.
Well, I only have a few more questions. One is that you have a really cool rapport and like sort of a fun reputation on social media.
Okay.
It was interesting. Like Brazil loves you, honestly.
I love Brazil, and Brazil loves me too, and I'm excited about it. It's been a fun journey with them.
I don't quite understand it. I saw like one article, but then one of the things is that I was looking through some of your social media and then some other things of just searching on social media. People would be referring about you or the show, mostly Phineas and Ferb. But then the comments are like, I'm from Brazil. We love him. And I was like, they really do. They really love him.
They really do. Yeah. No, Everybody Hates Chris is a really, really big show in Brazil.
Okay.
And I've known that for years just because of social media, because they've communicated that to me. But like a year ago, a coworker of mine on Phineas and Ferb got me like a T-shirt as a gift that said, I'm famous in Brazil in Portuguese. I just posted a picture of me wearing it, and that made the entire nation of Brazil very happy. And it actually was like, it's been like an incredible experience, honestly, like getting to like experience their culture. Like I've been down to Brazil a couple of times and like have been so fully embraced by people there. It's never something in a million years I would have thought would have been part of my life. And now it really was last year. I hope in the future I get to go back down there and meet more people. But I have like friends who are in Brazil now who I communicate with regularly, and went to a big Comic-Con down there last December, and that was really cool. And yeah, I've tried a lot of Brazilian food and met a lot of Brazilian people, and it's exciting. It was a really fun time getting to communicate with them.
And have you noticed, because your career also and growing up coincided with the growing of social media, how has that helped you in general, not just with Brazil, but just in general? And do you have any advice for people who might not be as tech savvy or social media savvy about how to embrace it, or some sort of like, do's and don'ts?
Yeah, I mean, I wish I had better advice to give people in terms of social media, because it's very overwhelming and it's very difficult. And I don't share nearly as much about my personal life as so many people who are big content creators do. Like people who fully embrace social media and who are like, I am like a TikTok content creator, or like I am always going to like, I do sketch comedy, and a lot of my like comedy work that I've, have done on stage and stuff like that. And I'll do digital sketches. I do that stuff on social media, and I'll do partnerships sometimes and things like that. But people who are like fully into social media, I mean, they're like vlogging their lives and they're sharing so much about their lives. And I don't love doing that. Like I'm very much like, I don't want to post like too much about my personal life on my social media. So I feel like I'm not the best person to give advice on that, because I think other people do it way better. Like I do think people, but that's a choice you have to make. Like I think you really have to go, okay, I'm about to open myself up and like really expose myself to the internet. And I mean, I have definitely, had my fair share of annoyances on the internet where, I just get a bunch of people upset with me about something I truly did not think would be upsetting at all. And that's just the risk you run when you expose yourself on the internet in any way. There are people who do it very smartly, but I think that those people too, like even my friends who I know who are big content creators, the amount of information you are then receiving from strangers is overwhelming and can be very difficult. So just do your best to, maintain your sanity, because the internet is a rough place. That's the advice I'd give, I suppose.
Yeah. So I agree because I think it showed that you were like, if I'm going to use it, I'm going to use it mostly primarily for business reasons. This is Everybody Still Hates Chris. This is Phineas and Ferb. This is some of my sketch comedy. I'm coming into the Comic-Con. And it works well for you. And others are like, this is for business, but then this is also me, this is my workouts. These are, my date.
These are my workouts. This is my family. These are my kids.
Yeah.
Like there are people who are very okay with posting their children and posting like their daily routines. And I'm not here to judge those things. I'm just saying some people really, really open their lives up. And when you do that, it's,
there's pros and cons to those too, because people can relate to it, but then they'll also will always have a judgment to it.
Yeah, everyone has an opinion about something, and we're all very different people. And all it really takes is I can say this from personal experience, is all it really takes is one account with a lot of followers who just decides, I'm going to pick on you today. That's all it takes for you to now just get an influx of oh my gosh, I didn't even know that. I didn't even know I was self-conscious about this thing that this stranger pointed out, that they've decided to insult me with. And I'm pretty thick-skinned, but all of a sudden you'll start reading these comments and just be like, I didn't even know that about myself. Now, other people think that. And so it's treacherous out there, but I know people who do it to great success and really love it and vlog their whole lives and are big TikTok creators and really share their personal lives. So it really is a comfortability thing, but the risk is high out there on the internet, for sure.
Do you have any advice for mostly voice actors? We've had several different types of people on Media Maker Spotlight that talk about, I'm a graphic designer, I'm, visual effects person and stuff, but you're my first voice actor that has had this much experience. And for instance, I didn't know, your idea to go to opera singing lessons and stuff like that. Do you have any advice for anyone who is interested in possibly being a voice actor specifically?
Absolutely. So there are two things there are things that are great about how voiceover is right now and things that make it very difficult. One of the great things is that there are more classes and workshops available to people online all around the United States that you can expose yourself to. And there was not that when I was getting into the industry, and not even 10 years ago, let alone when I broke in. So there is a big amount of information that you can find and you can get taught by taking workshops with casting directors, with voice directors, with other actors who are voice actors. At the end of the day, it is very hard still, if you do not live in Los Angeles, to become a successful voice actor, or Texas. And the people who work in Texas are mostly non-union workers because they work on anime. There's a huge anime market in Texas. I can't work on any of those things because I'm a member of the Screen Actors Guild. So it is very difficult. I lived in New York for a couple of years. And when I did that, it was because I really wanted to live in New York and I love living there. And I love that city so much, but there's barely a voiceover market there too. And I knew that when moving there. I was like, all right, I'm going to take a step back in my voice acting career to do this thing in my mid-20s, because if I don't do it now, I'll never do it. And, I'm glad I did, but Los Angeles is really kind of where you have to be at the end of the day if you want to make pre-lay animation, like the type of animation I make, or, work on Nickelodeon or work on big AAA video games. And then my number one piece of advice that I always give everyone is one of my coworkers. His name is D. Bradley Baker. He is one of the biggest voice actors ever. He plays Perry the Platypus on our show, but he is Appa on Avatar: The Last Airbender. He is all of the clones in The Bad Batch. He is truly one of the biggest voice actors ever. He runs a website called iwanttobeavoiceactor.com. So it's pretty easy to remember. And it gives so much information to people at different levels of voice acting about equipment you can buy at different price points, access to classes, access to information. It is a really invaluable resource that I tell so many people to go to. So if people would like to, then go to that website, and he updates it a lot. And he is truly the type of person you can trust about this advice. Yeah, I wish everyone the most success.
Thank you so much, Vincent. Yeah, and that's a great resource, because as much as there's so much information out there, there's also some scammers out there. So we really appreciate that really great resource. Thank you so much. And yes, we will share that information and all of the release dates and where everything can be found. Is there anything else that you wanted to share that we haven't touched on?
No, not really. Just I hope everyone is very excited about the new season of Phineas and Ferb. I know that I am. I hope you guys watch it so much that we get to keep doing the show, and follow me on Instagram if you don't already, and follow me on TikTok, follow me anywhere you can. And I hope to see you guys this summer on the new episodes of Phineas and Ferb.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Media Maker Spotlight from Women in Film and Video. To learn more about WIF, visit WIF as in Frank, V as in Victor.org. This podcast is created by Sandra Abrams, Candace Block, Brandon Ferry, Tara Jabari, Emma Klein, and Jerry Reinhardt, and edited by Michelle Kim and Inez Perez, with audio production and mix by Steve Lack Audio. Subscribe to continue learning from more amazing media makers. Please visit MediaMakersSpotlight.com for more information.